around November 2017, I called Michael Lewis, Northwest Florida, head Florida Department of Transportation, about why it is we don't have signs up like this sign right here that says Florida law, motorists shall give 3-foot clearance.
How you doing? Is this Mike Lewis of the Department of Transportation in the District 2, I think, right? If I'm not correct on that?
District 3.
Oh, pardon me. I want to talk to you about a very important public subject. I've been doing some research on this thing that's called where the bicyclists have a right to take the whole lane, and there's something called the Green Book, and I recently found out about a bicyclist that was ordered off the road by a police officer in Panama City, Florida, Bay County Sheriff. And does the Department of Transportation, do they educate the sheriffs and the police in the state of Florida that bicyclists have a right to be able to use any part of the road?
Well, we certainly educate with the right information in the right place. Certainly we do. Could you elaborate on which road this is?
Well, I'd like to give you a case number right now where, because this bicyclist had on the back of their bicycle the 3-foot statute that specifically states under 316.083 of the Florida statutes that a motorist shall stay 3 feet away from a bicycle at all times. And this was posted on the back of the bicycle of where the police officer could see this very plainly. Bay County Sheriff. The case number is Bay County court case is set for December 19th, 2017. And the case is 17006813MMA of where this bicyclist, when the Bay County Sheriff is Officer Potter of the Bay County Sheriff's Department in Florida, ordered him to get up on the sidewalk, and the bicyclist refused. And on top of that, refused when the Bay County Sheriff told him to get off the road and ride on the sidewalk. So it seems to me like, is that bicyclist right to refuse that officer telling him to get off the road?
Well, if you could share with me what the road was, what I could do is go back and check. I don't know all the rules off the top of my head. I do know some of the rules, but I'd rather go back and make sure before I give you a definitive answer.
Okay, 23rd Street in Panama City, Florida. And it seems to me like.
Can I ask you which area on 23rd Street?
Okay. I'd like to say 23rd Street near Jinx Avenue and 23rd Street is in that area there.
Area of Jinx. Okay, I know right where you are.
And so here's the situation. Because Bay County sheriffs and the police officers, they are not aware of the rights of bicyclists. They routinely terrorize bicyclists in Panama City, Florida. There was an officer Boyer of the Panama City Police Department that said to this bicyclist, "You're going to have to deal with me if we're going to have a problem if you don't get off the road and ride on the sidewalk." Which the sidewalks are filled with glass and trash. The travel for riding on the road is bumpy. It's unpredictable. Could run into a pedestrian, everything like that. And I'm wondering if there's any way that you could send an emergency email to every law enforcement agency using CC, carbon copy, I think it's called, or something like that, and educate the officers and the Bay County sheriffs and also anybody who's in law enforcement that bicyclists have a right to use any part of the road. Here's some examples. Wind could blow somebody over. There could be roadkill in the middle of the road. There could have been a car wreck, trash all over the road that the motorist does not see. There's sprinklers that will take and spray in the road to cause forcing a bicyclist to have to move over. So there's all different kinds of things. And so I understand there's something called the Florida Green Book, Department of Transportation. Am I correct on that?
Yes, that's one of our design guides.
Right. And so, because I'm talking to a public agency, if I'm not correct, you're a public agency, right?
That's correct. We're an agency of the state of Florida.
And they're accountable to the public, right?
Absolutely, yes.
I want to thank you for your, Michael Lewis. I want to thank you for your, being up front, and my experience has been that people in the state, they think somehow that they're above the peons who happen to pay their paychecks.
No, not at all, not at all. But I mean, we do have our plates full with dealing with a lot of issues. What I will do is there's a few places I can go look. Clearly, I'm not a lawyer, but we do operate under state statute, and under state statute, we have guidelines.
It's very interesting how they always say, "I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer," as if they're the high priestess, the ultimate, and a person can't use simple language or something like that. Oh, we got to go to them all the time. See, that's a scam right there. Actually, all laws are based on common sense. All court cases are based on common sense of what the average person of sensibilities would have.
That direct us to do certain things. I believe in those state statutes it'll identify for me the allowance for bicycles on roadways like this.
But you see,
that's really where we're going to look.
Yeah.
And make sure, number one, that we understand it before I then turn around and try and answer your question.
Well, see, here's the thing. Right now,
before we understand it, before we understand it can mean, oh, well, it'll take a year for the liars, for the lawyers, for the liars, the connivers, to make their interpretation. But still at the same time, they're talking about that they're accountable to the public. I'm talking to them. Why should I even have to even mention any kind of laws or anything like that? It's common sense.
See, bicyclists are the most vulnerable people in America. See, a pedestrian, he can jump the curb if a car wants to hit him. A bicyclist can be trapped in there because of the square curb. And not only that, see, this case it's coming up. What's it called? The pretrial conference is coming up. December 19th.
The 19th, right?
2017, 1:30. And so this bicyclist has already been forced to have to go to court. And the thing is, the police officer, he doesn't have to show up to court. But if the bicyclist doesn't show up, they get a warrant out on them.
Right.
Now, shouldn't the cop have to go to court too?
You would have to ask an attorney that question, sir.
But you see,
ask an attorney. It's always ask an attorney. See, there's some kind of scam going on with these so-called attorneys. They're the high priestess of everybody, man. Oh, gee whiz, they have the ultimate say-so. Throw common sense out the motherfucking window.
How long have you been with the Department of Transportation, Michael Lewis? How long?
I've been here about 5.5 years.
Okay. Now, this.
So in 5.5 years, he has not one time looked up any laws, come across any laws for rights for bicyclists or anything like that. I find that fucking hard to believe.
Case 316-083 of the Florida statutes was passed in 2005. And there's somebody, maybe you know of Christopher Burns, who happens to be a Jacksonville attorney who's an advocate for bicyclists.
I'm not familiar with that name, sir.
Well, anyway, he is the one that's trying to get it to where all over the state of Florida, see if you could send out a carbon copy to every police officer, every Bay County sheriff, all over the state of Florida, and make it an urgent thing that tells the police officers and the Bay County and the sheriffs that bicyclists do have a right to use any part of the road. You have no right whatsoever to tell them to go onto a sidewalk, and not only that, this officer did not allow this bicyclist who insisted on riding down their side, would not let them do it, which is a felony under 9/1813 of the Florida statutes for anybody, it says anybody, and the last time I checked, anybody includes a police officer, that they shall allow them to be able to include the side of the accused, because they certainly do it if they decide to claim somebody a victim. They'll make sure that they can write down everything.
Now let me tell you another dirty trick these motherfucking cops will do. They'll if there's any witnesses nearby that's concerned about the bicyclists being terrorized, these sorry fucks will go, you either leave right now, or I'm going to arrest you for interfering with an investigation. But them sorry fucks, if there's news media, all of a sudden, gee whiz, the news media can ask them all kinds of motherfucking questions. Yeah, I love the word fuck. And if you know the motherfucking word, that means you fucking have used it before, motherfuckers.
But at the same time, when they accuse somebody to being accused, they have no rights whatsoever, and all evidence, clearest possible witnesses, is forever lost, because the law enforcement officer will not allow them to include their side, which a lot of times would prevent the false charge in the first place. So you can include educating them that anytime a bicyclist wants to write down their side, not that they want to, that it shall be included automatically, and the officer has to offer this service to the accused. Because what happens is somebody automatically figures, well, gee whiz, that law enforcement officer just destroyed any of my ability to defend myself, because he didn't allow me to write down my side while events were clearest, didn't allow me to gather the freshest evidence, didn't allow me to force the officer to take pictures of the road to prove the side of the story of the accused. So what happens is you get a situation where automatically the person who is accused automatically lost, because the valuable, precious information, evidence and everything is refused by the cop.